action following the Court's verdict yesterday in favor of the Independent Electoral Commission, particularly as it relates to amending its timetable to hold elections in November?
Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to the viewers at home. Well, I think it was quite expected, even though you would actually have mixed feelings from different political parties. Some would obviously be excited and some would actually be worried. Hence, there has been sentiments that were saying that apparently the IEC seemed to have been favoring certain political parties. But if you look at the program for the IEC since yesterday, one would say that the IEC in South Africa is quite lucky in the sense that political parties themselves now are actually doing the work of the IEC by supporting the institution that is created for our democracy to encourage supporters, members and ordinary citizens to go and register for the elections. What I like seeing from the different political parties is that there is a lot of energy, there is a lot of zeal on the part of the political parties and the ordinary citizens themselves to go out and say, let us make our democracy in South Africa work. And I think on the base of the energy that we see from different political parties moving across the entire republic, one would actually saying that we're actually going to have quite interesting local government elections, and I expect a lot of positive response from the voters themselves on the 1st of November.
I was going to ask you, just for you to give us, just a little bit of your take in terms of what we can make of the 2 days. I mean, yesterday voting stations closed the day with close to 500,000 people being registered. So what is your take in terms of how that's unfolding? Because we know that the IEC had indicated, we need to see about just a little bit closer to 700,000 more people voting, because those numbers have been low dramatically, and that was one of the concerns by the IEC. But notwithstanding, we also saw those scenes coming out of Dambuza and KZN between some EFF and ANC members. Just talk to me about, just what you think about the 2 days and how that's unfolded, and if you think we will actually see that 700,000 mark reached by 5 o'clock this afternoon.
Well, I think it is possible, to have the 500 mark as expected by the IEC. I think apart from the work that the IEC is doing and the different political parties are doing, it is also time for elder citizens in the country to start encouraging the young people that they actually stay with. It is the responsibility of families, it is the responsibility of different smaller cells in society to encourage our young people, and especially young first voters, to go and participate in the elections. And I think the more we have the numbers, the more we're actually going to produce credible results for our own country. But another aspect that we need to look at as well is that when you have a situation where political parties would clash, it actually takes us back from where we're not supposed to go. What we need to be preaching as well, when we talk about citizens and encouraging young people to register and vote, at the same time, we need to be talking about tolerance and ensure that as our democracy grows, we need to assist people to know that democracy is about competition, and even though there is a possibility of not understanding and agreeing with each other, it is important to tolerate each other, and also important to note that we still have to coexist. I think as well, even though you have got minor incidents of clashes and misunderstandings, they are not good for our democracy, and we need political leaders themselves to come to the fore and talk a lot against this kind of instances, because we do not want to see elections that are tarnished by conflict, that are tarnished by misunderstandings, but we need to have free, fair elections where everybody else will say, indeed, we've made it and our democracy is growing.
We can't actually have this conversation without going into what we are currently seeing within the ruling party. In fact, former president and ANC NEC member Kgalema Motlanthe said after that report to the ANC that factionalism within the party is actually killing the party and will cost them. What can we make then about this kind of opportunity within the opposition party? I mean, is their messaging centered around what we are seeing within the ruling party at the moment, or is it kind of the same rhetoric during elections that we are seeing from the opposition parties? What can we make about A, what is happening within the ruling party, and B, the opportunities that lie for opposition parties?
The challenges happening within the ruling party are known to everybody, and those that are involved in factionalisms, which has got negative implications in the party, are aware that what they're actually doing is wrong and it is not good for the ANC. What one would expect is that the ANC by now would have developed means and strategies to deal with those that are seen to be at the forefront of factionalism, and also ensure that thuggerism that is happening within the ruling party is actually dealt with, and you don't see these instances happening again. This is something that is not happening for the first time. In the previous elections, and especially local government elections, we have had groups of people within the ruling party who raised concerns about manipulation of the party lists, about fights, about all kinds of disorders happening within the list process in the ruling party. And the unfortunate part is that there don't seem to be a capacity or a political will on the part of the ruling party to deal with these kind of tendencies. And of course, these tendencies have got very huge negative implications on the party. The Tshwane Metro is the case in point, wherein certain structures would impose leaders or candidates on a constituency, and they actually got what they actually got in the city of Tshwane. As for the opposition, it is up to the opposition to take advantage of the crisis or the problems that are taking place within the ruling party. When the ruling party is divided with factions like it is now, for me, the opposition parties, the Democratic Alliance, the EFF, COPE, and all other political parties must say this is an opportunity to take advantage and actually grab what is actually available on the part of the ANC. But another important aspect that I think we need to look at is that local government elections are ward-based. And when you see political parties going out in numbers, doing what we call political psychology, it is good for political parties, but also at the same time, they need to forward right candidates, people that understand the areas that they are supposed to be deployed at, people that are actually known to be working for the people. And of course, political parties must build strong branches within the wards, because otherwise they'll actually be wasting time in actually arranging bigger gatherings that will not yield them good results.
Mr. Ndou, I'd like us to pause this conversation. I'd like to prod your mind a little bit more about what you said about political psychology. But perhaps let's take this moment to just go to my colleague, Tumelo Machoho, who is in Mpumalanga for us. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa is currently in Mpumalanga leading voter registration in that province. Tumelo Machoho is following that story. And